On this episode of the podcast, we're going to break down Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals between the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat. We're also going to give you our top 5 NBA players with the most pressure to perform next season. And we're also going to dive into the Golden State Warriors and Steph Curry. When you look at Steph Curry coming out of Davidson, if you would have told me that he would have been one of the most deadliest three-point shooters in the league and was on his way to gaining his 4th NBA title, I would have been like, wow, he surpassed anything I ever imagined for Steph Curry. If you had told me he would have been second to only LeBron James coming out of Davidson and being number 2, like, of that era, man, he definitely blew it out the water. He surpassed anything that anybody ever expected. If anybody told you coming out of Davidson that he was going to be the player he is today, they would have been lying to you.
You're tuned into the New Channel Sports Podcast, the ultimate sports talk podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the New Channel Sports Podcast. My name is O-N-E, the one and only. If this is your first time listening to this podcast, please do me a favor and go ahead and subscribe. You can do it on any major podcast platform available. You can also go to our website, newchannelsports.net. That's new channel spelled NUchannelsports.net. You can also go over there and subscribe as well. Give us a follow on Instagram. Give us a follow on Twitter. Go ahead and check out our YouTube page as well. We have an awesome show in store for you, ladies and gentlemen. I am joined by my co-host, Anthony, the Ant-Man Felly. How are you doing today, sir?
Man, just kicking it on this holiday weekend, man. How are you doing? How's the fam?
Oh, man, the fam's good, man. You know how it is. They're all good, you know, just trying to hang in there. No sports today that we're talking, but this evening there will be sports once the podcast kicks off, and I can't wait for that Game 7, sir.
Oh, it's going to be a great game. I think Game 6, and we'll talk a little bit more about it, but the only thing I could say is, where has that type of playoff battle been through this whole series? That's what the people have been looking for right there.
No, absolutely. That's exactly what the people have been looking for. I guess we can just go ahead and kick off the podcast. We're talking about the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat. They played Game 6 the other night, and Jimmy Butler was playing his butt off. Every time someone doubts this guy, or every time someone says he's not a superstar, he goes out on the court and proves why exactly he is a superstar in this league, man. He's a superstar, bro. Is he not a superstar? And is Jimmy Butler a superstar?
So the last time I was on the show, we actually talked a little bit about Jimmy Butler, and my thoughts on this have not changed. If you haven't listened to the show, please go back and listen. But one thing we talked about was, this man is an absolute beast. He's a giant out there on the floor. He's one of the few NBA stars that will actually leave everything he has when his team needs it the most. And last night was no different, man. I am incredibly impressed by Jimmy Butler. He looked a lot like the Jimmy Butler we saw in the bubble finals against the Lakers, and you could just tell, man, he expended, I hope not everything that he had, but he wasn't shy about leaving it out there last night, that's for sure.
No, he definitely was not shy about leaving it out there last night. If you would have told me before Game 6 that there was going to be an individual that was going to go out there and put up 47 points and 9 rebounds, I would have told you it was going to be Jason Tatum. That's the person I would have thought it would have done it. Jason Tatum had a pretty good game himself as well. He had 30 points and 9 rebounds. But after Game 5 going into Game 6, most of us thought that, okay, Boston's going to go ahead and close it out in Beantown and go ahead and go to the championship to face the Golden State Warriors. But Jimmy Butler's like, not too fast. They have a Game 7 tonight, Miami and Boston. Who do you have winning that game, Ant-Man?
Well, this one kind of plays at my heart a little bit. I have the Celtics winning this game, but man, I would not mind the Heat taking this one. I just don't think that they can get that again from Jimmy Butler. That's what they're going to need. They're going to need another Game 6 type performance from Jimmy Butler. So I got the Celtics winning this one. And you and I have talked off the record. I had Celtics in 6. They're not going to get it in 6, but I think the Celtics will still take this game in Miami.
Yeah, I got the Celtics winning. I actually thought the Celtics might do it in 7 because the Heat, they're just so resilient, man. That group of individuals, they just don't know what the word quit means. So it is fair that everything goes down and comes down to a Game 7. I don't know if you saw Draymond Green on TNT, and they asked him who would he like to face in the finals, and he did one better, and he said he thought the Boston Celtics would win. And whenever something like that happens, bro, I look at that and I think, oh no, he just jinxed the Boston Celtics. We might be looking at a Miami Heat and Golden State finals.
It's very possible. If the Heat do take that game, or if the Heat do take the Game 7, I do think that they're worthy opponents to see the Warriors in a finals matchup. I think this Game 7 though is going to be about turnovers. Oh, if you look at really how this series has unfolded, in games where the Celtics are turning the ball over, they lose. It's as simple as that. Last night is no different. They had 17 turnovers. You can't beat a team like the Heat who's going to scrap and fight for every inch on the floor. You can't give them extra opportunities. And if the Celtics come out in a Game 7 with 17, 18 turnovers, then the result's going to be the same, and we will see a Heat Warriors finals. Now, Draymond, I think the jinx is possible. You use jinx. I just think motivation. All he did was give billboard material for the Heat, and believe me, the Heat don't need that. I mean, you look at the characters they have there. They have a scrappy Jimmy Butler, a fierce Udonis Haslem. I mean, that's who the culture is. Man, I think we could see, I think a Heat Warriors finals would be valid. I think it would be a good matchup, but I just don't see the Heat taking it. Draymond, stay off of TNT. Don't say that. Don't say that again.
Yeah, Draymond is he's on TNT. They're paying that man to be on TNT. So we're going to see a lot more of Draymond Green on TNT. I do like the back and forth that he has with Charles Barkley on there too as well. But man, I have the Celtics winning this game, Game 7, but I would not be surprised if Miami won this Game 7 and punched their ticket to the finals. I go after Jimmy Butler, man. I know that he is a key to winning, but when you look at other players that are keys to winning, on the Boston side, I look at Jaylen Brown. If Jaylen Brown can somehow take the pressure off of Jason Tatum and play at a level that we not necessarily expect him to play at, but play at that second superstar, right? That person that is, the Robin to the Batman. I love these DC references. If you don't already know that, I like DC references. Jaylen Brown is definitely going to be the key on the Boston Celtics side. Who do you look at as the key on the Miami Heat side as far as helping out Jimmy Butler? Because we can't expect Jimmy Butler to come out here in Game 7 and score 47 points, 9 rebounds, and do it all again. Who do you look at that has to help him in this Game 7, Ant?
It's got to be Bam. Bam has to do better than 6 points in 41 minutes. I think we've seen what Bam could do. I believe he had one really standout game in this series. It's going to take a lot more effort from Bam in the Game 7 to help Jimmy Butler out. That's who I see needs to be the next man up for the Miami Heat in Game 7 is Bam Adebayo.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that for sure. I think Bam Adebayo is definitely the guy that we're going to be looking for to step it up if the Miami Heat want to win this Game 7. If you look at the games that the Miami Heat have lost, in Game 2, Bam Adebayo, his stats, he scored 6 points. He had 9 rebounds. That not very good. game 2 that they lost. Okay. So you look at game 4, Bam Adebayo. What's your stat line for game 4? Game 4, he scores 9 points and has 6 rebounds. Game 5, you look at Bam Adebayo's stats in game 5, he scores 18 points, has 10 rebounds. So that's a little bit better. But let's look at the games in which they've won. They won game 1. Bam Adebayo has 10 points, 4 rebounds. Not too good, but not too bad either, I guess I want to say. But
well, that was another Jimmy Butler game 1. Right. Jimmy Butler took that game over in the fourth quarter, and it wasn't really a whole lot more the Heat needed in game 1.
There was a game that they won 2 where he scored 31 points. But my point being is this, that if Bam Adebayo can go ahead and relieve some of the pressure off of Jimmy Butler, then their odds of winning go way, way up. Yeah, that was game 3. Bam Adebayo, he had 31 points, right? He had 31 points and 10 rebounds in game 3, which they won. And then in this game 6, which you already know that Jimmy Butler went off, Bam Adebayo only has 6 points. But he needs to be a key. I think in general, that whole team needs to go ahead and step up. Kyle Lowry, he had a dismal game 5. He bounced back quite nicely. In game 6, he had 18 points and 10 assists. He only had 2 turnovers, so that was really key. They need Kyle Lowry to step up as well if they're going to get past the Boston Celtics and find themselves in the NBA championship, which would be pretty interesting. And, I've heard a lot of people say that it was a fluke that they made the finals in the bubble before, and now they're just totally crushing that. That was not a fluke. This team is definitely for real. Jimmy Butler is for real. And either one of these teams I would like to see face the Golden State Warriors, but who knows what's going to happen at.
That's why they play the game, Mo.
No doubt. All right, so we both have Boston going up against the Golden State Warriors. Let's talk a little bit about the Golden State Warriors, shall we? Golden State Warriors, they make their 4th trip. No, is it 4th trip? They make their 6th trip. Their 6th trip in 8 years to the NBA Finals. Steph Curry is looking for his 4th NBA championship. He's looking for his first NBA Finals MVP. And you look at what Steph Curry has done, and you look at what this Golden State Warrior team has done. I look at them as being the dynasty of this era, right? When you go to the finals 6 out of 8 years and you've won 3 championships looking for your 4th, you're definitely a dynasty right now in this league. And look at Steph Curry. Where do you rank Steph Curry if he's able to get his 4th championship, Ant-Man?
Whew. That's a great question. So I go back and forth with this all the time. I think Steph Curry is a game altering, game changing, or league changing type of player. I think he's a transcendent talent. He's definitely, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse, has changed the game of basketball as we know it. But I still tend to think that Steph Curry is a lot of product of his culture and environment, right? I don't know if this same Steph Curry is who we see if he goes anywhere else in the draft and develops anywhere else. Golden State and the culture that they have there has fostered and cultivated his talents and allowed him to be who he has become. And it's been extremely fun and frustrating and polarizing to watch. But if he wins 4 rings, he's at least top 3 in this era of basketball. I would put him on that very short list because just the consistency he's gotten there. The winning percentage will be higher than a LeBron James winning percentage. He's done it in the West, which historically has been a much tougher conference to come out of than the East over the last, 10 years or 8 years or so. So, in spite of all the things that I guess would be like a slight to him, I still would put him up there. I would say top 3 easy if he wins his 4th ring. Yeah, I mean I don't know how you feel about it, but that's kind of where I got him.
Yeah, I think if he wins his 4th title, I'll go a step further where I put him top 2. It will be LeBron James's era and then Steph Curry. What Steph Curry has been able to do as far as revolutionizing the game and just making that 3-point shot the most deadly shot in the league. No one else has been able to do it at the clip that Steph Curry has been able to do it. When you talk about great three-point shooters, the name that came to mind before Steph Curry would be Ray Allen, right? Ray Allen was a deadly three-point shooter. But when you look at his career, later on, he became like a set shooter. He didn't really dribble off the screen as much or drive to the basket. Steph Curry is running through screens. He's stepping off the basket. He's kind of what you look at as Reggie Miller. He's Reggie Miller 3.0. And then his handles are way better than what Reggie Miller was able to do on the basketball court. So when I look what Steph Curry has done and where he's come from, the reason why his career has been so great is also what he's been able to do with his talent. And let me explain what I mean by that. When you look at Giannis Antetokounmpo, you look at LeBron James, you look at Kevin Durant. When you look at those athletes as they were being drafted, you thought, oh man, that person is going to be great. They are going to do some great things in the league. And so when you look at their career and what they've done, you measure that and say, you know what? Yeah, LeBron James did about what I thought he was going to do. He's won 4 championships. He's been league MVP. He's been MVP Finals MVP. And it just, it matches his body type. It matches what we thought he was going to achieve coming out of high school. When you look at Steph Curry coming out of Davidson, if you would have told me that he would have been one of the most deadliest three-point shooters in the league and was on his way to gain a 4th NBA title, I would have been like, wow, he surpassed anything I ever imagined for Steph Curry. If you had told me he would have been second to only LeBron James coming out of Davidson and being number 2, like, of that era, man, he definitely blew it out the water. He surpassed anything that anybody ever expected. If anybody told you coming out of Davidson that he was going to be the player he is today, they would have been lying to you. So that's why I have such great respect for what Steph Curry's been able to do. And he's been amazing, man. He really has been. And you have to give him his flowers. People want to say, is he a point guard or is he not a point guard? He's definitely a point guard. What make people say that is because he is the best shooting point guard that we've ever seen in the history of basketball. And so when you take that into the equation, man, he's just been deadly, bro. And it's been something to see. And he makes it look so easy, right? Other point guards come in and try to emulate it, but he makes it look so easy what he's doing. And this is where the league is going to now, Ant.
Yeah, that's what I mean by the transcendent talent and how he's changed the game. He has really just altered the very shape of the NBA as we knew it coming out of the 90s and the early 2000s. And it is that deadly jump shot, and it is his willingness to shoot, but it's also his fearlessness to shoot. And I have to agree with you on this in the sense that people want to kind of pigeonhole him in this point guard. We have to remember that he's a lot of the reason why the NBA is pretty much positionless now. You don't really have big centers anymore, and you really don't have a 1 guard and a 2 guard anymore. You have a guard. You have, and both can handle the ball and both can shoot. I mean, that's kind of how the game's revolutionized. Everybody on the floor should be able to shoot, by today's NBA standards, right? So I agree with you there, and I definitely agree with you by the movement, the off ball. He's one of the few guards in the NBA today that plays off ball the way that he plays. And it really is amazing to watch, especially for any student of the game out there. I know the 3-point shot looks great and it's sexy and, everybody wants to do it, but pay attention to what Steph Curry does when he doesn't have the basketball, because when he's not shooting well, Steph Curry still influences basketball games by moving off ball, by creating room for his teammates, by making the right plays, by getting the critical rebounds, because he'll sneak in there and get a rebound here and there. But Steph is always moving, and he's always making the defense have to account for where he's at. And that's the important thing that he does for anybody who's learning the game of basketball and trying to learn from what Steph Curry. That the shot looks nice, it's sexy, it's what everybody wants. But the work that he puts in off ball, that's where it's at.
You're absolutely 100% right. It was a perfect storm of the team, the organization, and the players. You have Klay Thompson, you have Draymond Green, and you have Steph Curry. That is the core of that Golden State Warrior team. And I think when we talk about revolutionizing the game and other teams trying to emulate what teams are doing, other teams are trying to emulate what the Golden State Warriors are doing. You know, you look at Draymond Green, sometimes he runs the point, right? And he's a small forward, but he runs the point. He pushes the ball up the court sometimes, and he's looking for Klay Thompson or he's looking for Steph Curry to try to get that open shot. So everything that they've been able to do and how they evolved and grown into what we know as the Golden State Warriors of today it was just a perfect storm. And I don't think that they would all be as successful as they are if they weren't all on the same team. But you look at what they're doing with Jordan Poole as well. He's coming into his own also. You know, he comes in, he contributes. Andrew Wiggins comes in, he contributes. So it's that organization is what they're doing. They're kind of pushing San Antonio out the way, right? When you think of the organizations that have been doing it so well for so long, I've always thought about the San Antonio Spurs. But now it's the Golden State Warriors, man. Even after this year, their run might not be over. Who's going to beat them next year, right? They're going to be the favorites to win next year, I think.
Yeah, those are great points because, and I'm glad you brought up the Spurs thing because Kerr actually played for Popovich as he ended his career. So you would think like a player as they're ending their career, they start looking more into the X's and O's of the basketball game as their skill set seems to diminish. And I believe that Steve Kerr picked up a lot of that maybe NBA IQ or structure that Pop values and that we've come to know from the San Antonio Spurs for so long. I don't think there's just no secret to that. Kerr knows how to get the best out of his players. I mean, even Kevon Looney. I mean, Kevon Looney's been playing larger than life out there, right? I mean, he's not giving you a whole lot of points, but in 3 of the last 4 wins, he's had 18 rebounds, 12 rebounds, and 12 rebounds, right? So, three games in double figures and a monster game 2 in that Western Conference Finals where he had 12 rebounds and 21 points on 73% shooting. I mean, that's nuts for Kevon Looney, right? So if that's the Warriors system, that's how they work. And I'm glad you brought up the Spurs because you see a lot of the Spurs organizational structure in this Golden State Warrior team. I think you're right. I think this team is going to be fully healthy, stocked and loaded. This team, they may run off another 3 or 4 titles in the next 5 years.
Ooh, 3 or 4? Man, that would be a damn accomplishment for that organization if they were able to do that. But who's to say they can't do that? I think a lot of people in the NBA world kind of wrote them off this year. And then as they started winning games and they went on that little streak, you're like, oh boy, the Golden State Warriors, they're not done. And now during the playoffs, they've made this run. They're back in the finals. Klay Thompson has been a big part of that as well. He's completely healthy now. I forgot how long he was out, but now he's back. And in that game 5, man, he was going nuts. And, it's really scary that you have a team that arguably has 2 of the best shooters of all time on the same team. I mean, that's absolutely nuts, man. I can't even begin to explain to you what the Golden State Warriors have been able to do in this organization. And you're right, man. If everything falls into place with a little bit of luck involved as well, you can continue to see this team to win even more championships. This run is not over, man. They could continue to do what they need to do. And we're talking like, we're almost talking like they're going to win this finals, right? I have a weird way of thinking about the finals. Let's put a little caveat on this. I really do think Miami has a better chance of beating the Golden State Warriors than the Boston Celtics. Even though I'm picking the Boston Celtics to win, I think that if Miami were to find their way in there, I'm not saying they're going to win, but if Miami were to find their way in there, just because of the way they play, the greediness that they have, and the way they're able to slow the game down a little bit, they might have a better opportunity at knocking Golden State off than the Boston Celtics would. But that's neither here nor there. Just wanted to touch on the Golden State Warriors and the dynasty with Steph Curry and all of them. All right, so let's end off this show with a top 5.
This is the Top 5, presented by the New Channel Sports Podcast.
All right, Ant. So we're going to name the top 5 NBA players with the most pressure going into next season, right? I'll go ahead and start off. I'll give you my number 5, and then we'll go back and forth, Ant. You get number 4, I'll get number 3, number 2, and then number 1. So at number 5, I have James Harden with the most pressure to produce next year. The way this season ended was a disaster for James Harden. He needs to get his butt into the gym, get his butt in shape, and go ahead and prove to all the doubters that he's not washed. Because what we saw last year indicated that he might just be washed. But there's a lot more that goes into it than just that. It was his attitude. It was the way that he demanded to get out of Brooklyn, the same way he demanded to get out of the Rockets organization. And now he's playing exactly where he wants to play, and he's not living up to expectations. Even though we may not expected the Houston Rocket James Harden to be in Philadelphia, Philadelphia expected a better version of what they saw. And we have all these clips and all these tapes of James Harden. The word I want to use is being lazy on the court. And that just goes against him, right? He needs to bounce back next year. I think there's a lot of pressure on James Harden to bounce back next year and have a productive season. So at number 5, I have Mr. James Harden.
Oh, that's a great one. That's a great one. He's also on my list, by the way. At number 4, I'm going to say Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic, he's going to be in the hot seat next year. He's going to be in a lot of pressure to improve. Now, I will say this with a caveat that the Dallas Mavericks organization has to do better this offseason and get somebody else to complement him. But what I saw from him in this playoffs and what my biggest knock on Luka is he carries a superstar status and he carries all the love and adoration of a superstar, but Luka has a habit of quitting on his team. I saw it several times in a closeout game against the Warriors in this Western Conference Finals where he refused to run up the court and play defense. He has to get better on the defensive end of the ball because he is a huge liability for Jason Kidd and the rest of that group out there on defense, because it doesn't matter what scheme Jason Kidd puts out. Luka Doncic not being a defender, it just hurts you, and you're not going to get to the next level if he doesn't evolve into a defensive player. So for all these reasons, that's why I have Luka Doncic as the number 4 player who's under the most pressure to improve next year.
I don't know, man. I don't know about that one, man. I think that Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks exceed expectations this year, and I don't really know. There's a lot of pressure on Luka to do anything next year, but I kind of understand what you're saying. There's pressure in a sense of, was what they did this year a fluke? Is he really the superstar that everybody thinks that he is? Because there's some people out there that don't think he's really that superstar. They think that he's a fraud. So we're going to really find out next year if Luka Doncic can really lead this Dallas Mavericks team on another run in the playoffs. But I don't know if there's that much pressure on him, man. But we'll see. We'll see. At number 3, Kevin Durant. I'm going to say Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant at number 3. I think there's a lot of pressure on Kevin Durant to perform. He had a similar end to the season as James Harden did. Not as bad to me, even though that series really, the Bucks really put a lot of pressure and really got physical with Kevin Durant, and he just looked lost the entire series. He really couldn't get anything going. He couldn't build any consistency on the court. So I think there's a lot of pressure on Kevin Durant to come back next year and really prove to people that he was, for say, the driver of the bus, right? People are starting to question his whole legacy because of that series. Even though he's getting older, I do think that next year is a very important year for Kevin Durant. He needs to get back, work on some of his game, and try to, mesh well with Kyrie Irving and Ben Simmons when they come back. I think part of his legacy is going to be those two players. If those two players are not on the same page, they're going to have a similar season. I don't care what anybody says. So it's going to be very important for Kevin Durant to bounce back, and I think that there's going to be a lot of pressure on him next year to do so. So I got Kevin Durant at number 3.
Ooh, great. I like that number 3 too, because I'm sticking with power forward here, and I'm going with Anthony Davis at number 2.
That's a good one.
AD has got to show up next year. I have here, he joined the Lakers just before the 2019-2020 season, which became the bubble season. He played 62 games in that season, but remember, he had 4 months off before they went into the bubble, and the Lakers ended up winning a championship. The following 2 years, he played 36 games and 40 games. The injury proneness of Anthony Davis has been something that has plagued him throughout his career, but it just seems like as he gets older, we're just seeing it more and more. But even when he was healthy at the beginning of this young season, he played very small. He did not play at the level that you would expect a top 5 or at least a top 10 NBA player would play. I watched Giannis make him small. I watched Embiid make him small, but then I watched players like Whiteside and Adebayo, and just people he would normally be eating alive in the paint. Anthony Davis has got to return to the superstar status that we all have, I guess, placed him at, or the pedestal we put him on. His stats this year, just to run them off real quick: 23 points a game, 9 rebounds. That cannot happen. He's got a new coach in Darvin Ham. Darvin Ham helped develop Giannis. So I'm hoping, AD, if you're out there listening, please, AD is number 2 on this list for the most under pressure to perform.
I can't disagree with that. That's a really good one. Anthony Davis definitely has a lot of pressure to perform after the season that he had this year at the Lakers. He's going to really, have to do something to kind of erase the season that he's had this year. We'll see what happens from there. All right. So number 1, I got the first overall pick in the 2019 NBA draft. That will be one Zion Williamson. He has to bounce back next year. There's going to be a lot of pressure on him to prove to everyone that he deserved to be that number 1 pick. He has all the talent, all the tools, the athleticism. We've seen him dunk the ball many times, right? During this period where he's trying to rehab and stuff like that. And really at this point, I really don't care about that. He has to get on the court and he has to prove to people that he can be the face of this league, right? He was in the same category with John Morant, and John Morant has stepped up. He's playing really, really well with the Grizzlies, and he has gone into the playoffs and made a big impact in the playoffs. We need to see the same thing from Zion Williamson. He has to get back on the court. He has to help lead the Pelicans into the playoffs, and he has to make a big impact in the playoffs, because what's going on right now with Zion Williamson, it might be half, bad luck with the injuries, and the other half is on him. He has to get his butt in the weight room, similar to what I said about James Harden, get himself into the weight room, get himself in shape so that he can be as productive as possible. So I think there's a lot of pressure on Zion Williamson to bounce back next year and be what everybody expected him to be, as far as being not just a superstar, a superstar, if that makes any sense, because he didn't come into the league just to be anybody else or any other player. He came into the league to take the league over. People were looking at him the same way you looked at LeBron James. We're going to get you in the league, which I wasn't looking at him that way, but people were looking at him in that same aspect as the next person, as far as the torch being passed from LeBron James to this person. So there's a lot of pressure on Zion Williams to perform next year, bro.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I mean, he definitely came into the league with a lot of the hype and a lot of the expectation. He's got the size and the athleticism that a young LeBron James had when he came in the league. Plus, he's got the experience of having played for a fine program like Duke in college. So I don't disagree with that. The biggest factor in this is you have to be on the floor in order to affect the game for your team. So all these stars out there, Zion, AD, Harden, you have to get your body right. You have to get your body right. If you want to make the money and you want to be called the superstar and you want all the adoration, O's absolutely right. Zion Williamson, I cannot disagree, is the number one player who is under the most pressure to perform.
All right. So we have number 5, James Harden. Number 4, Luka Doncic. I'm a little bit iffy about that one. And then at number 3, we had, who did I pick at number 3? We have Kevin Durant. And number 2, we had Anthony Davis. And number 1, we had Zion Williamson. These are the top 5 NBA players with the most pressure to perform next season. All right. And that was damn good, bro. You had a lot of good points, and you know, you're doing your thing, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I'm just happy to be back doing this thing with you, and can't wait till Chris and the rest of the gang jump on as well, man. I have a lot of fun with you guys and just doing what we love to do, talking sports.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this has been O-N-E, the one and only, joined by Anthony the Ant-Man Felly. If this is your first time checking out the podcast, please subscribe. You can do it on any major podcast platform available. You can also go to our website, newchannelsports.net. That's new channel spelled NUchannelsports.net. Go ahead and subscribe there as well. Check us out on Afro Vibes TV. Also, my boy Big Low and the phenomenal one Chris have been holding it down at Afro Vibes. So see your wonderful faces there as well. You can check us out on Instagram. Give us a follow on Instagram. Give us a follow on Twitter. Check us out on YouTube as well. Myself and the Ant-Man, we're going to try to put some stuff out on a more consistent basis on YouTube. So check us out there. Look, be on the lookout for us on YouTube. But, you know, it has been a pleasure. Until next time, we are out.
Thanks for listening to the New Channel Sports Podcast. If you like the show, feel free to leave a comment and a 5-star rating. Your support is very much appreciated. Also, don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Podbean, or on our website, newchannelsports.net. That's New Channel spelt N-U, channelsports.net. Got a sports-related question for the crew? Just leave a voicemail on our website. Till next time, have a good one and stay safe out there.